Gavin Newsom caught breaking the law and violating your First Amendment rights. Once again, a federal judge just handed down a scathing ruling blocking a law that Newsom signed to try to intimidate and bully people into silence in the final weeks of the 2024 election. Coming up, we'll tell you what Newsom's law tried to do, what the judge said, and how we're fighting back. I'm Carl DeMaio, chairman of Reform California, and there is a clear pattern emerging with Gavin Newsom. Oh, that's right. The pattern is he doesn't give a rat's rear end about your constitutional rights. This is a guy who will trample on your freedoms. Might makes right. He doesn't care about what the Constitution says. If he wants to do something, he's going to do it, even if it violates the law and breaks the Constitution. And also, the pattern is that, thank goodness, we do have federal judges who are doing their job and smacking him down. Such was the case yesterday when a federal judge ruled that Newsom is breaking your First Amendment rights on a law that he just signed into effect. It would basically criminalize your right to engage in politics using parodies and satire on social media. This all stems from a video that was posted by Elon Musk, or actually retweeted by Elon Musk, that a conservative activist developed, that used artificial intelligence to take Kamala Harris's voice and use her as the narrator in an ad that basically made the case against Kamala Harris. The ad itself is funny. The ad itself is truthful, because it highlights actual bad policies that she supports, actual failures that she has created, and uses her voice as the narrator. It's funny in that effect. Newsom saw this video retweeted by Elon Musk and said that he would immediately demand that the legislature pass a law to criminalize any parody videos during elections. Look, the First Amendment is clear. We have free speech rights, particularly when it comes to political topics. We can say whatever we want when it comes to political topics. It's even hard to go after people for slander against politicians because the courts have always said when it relates to politics, your First Amendment rights are absolutely strong. Parody, making fun of our politicians, is as old as the Republic. I mean, go back to the time of Ben Franklin and John Adams and Thomas Jefferson. You'll find the most vicious parodies back then. They didn't have technology to use artificial intelligence as part of it, but they used cartoons and publications to make fun of politicians. And that's absolutely your constitutional right, to mock and make fun of politicians. Look, Gavin Newsom was so upset about this video because it very cleverly communicated the truth. He said, "Oh, this is deceptive. It's a deep fake. It's lying." No, actually, it tells the truth. It criticizes actual policies that Kamala Harris believes in and actual failures that she has produced. At the end of this show, I will play the video that's at the center of this controversy for you, and you're going to love it. It's so hilarious, and I hope you share it. But anyway, so Gavin Newsom demanded that a law be fast-tracked, and it would criminalize anyone who posts parodies that use the voice of a politician and uses the voice to narrate as though the politician is actually narrating the ad. The law was signed into effect, and immediately a number of groups sued in federal court for the fact that the law was violating First Amendment rights. And the reason why this is so important is Newsom knew that the law that he was signing into effect was illegal. This is a grotesque, appalling characteristic of Gavin Newsom. He signs laws into effect knowing that he's breaking your constitutional rights. But his view is might makes right, because his goal is to shut you up, to silence you, to intimidate and bully you into compliance. particularly in the last few weeks of this 2024 election, because he knows that Democrats are not in a very good position, particularly in his own state of California. So he knows that the law he signs is illegal, but he knows that it'll probably take some time to wind its way through the courts. And even if he does get a judge to swat him down, the whole controversy about the law might intimidate people into silence. You see the particularly nasty and unethical, corrupt nature of what he's doing? We don't hear any liberal media outlets slamming Newsom for this. Remember, these people are First Amendment. It's the journalism. We are the media. First Amendment. Oh, except when it applies to you, the average Joe or Jane, who has a social media account and wants to opine about politics. No, you get to be harassed, bullied, and intimidated by your governor, and the media gets to say, oh, thank you, Mr. Governor, for shutting up the little people. We should have the only platform to speak. And of course, that shall be protected. Absolutely corrupt. Both sides of the coin, both the politicians that want to violate your First Amendment rights and the liberal media corrupt enterprises that are going along with the scam. Elon Musk is brilliant. He knew by retweeting this ad that it would poke at the Democrats, and he's standing his ground, and so are the others that came up with the parody ad. So here's the story itself. Associated Press: judge blocks new California law cracking down on election deepfakes. Judge John Mendez struck down the law, saying it likely violates the First Amendment. Okay, Captain Obvious. Quote, most of AB 2839 acts as a hammer instead of a scalpel, serving as a blunt tool that hinders humorous expression and unconstitutionally stifles the free and unfettered exchange of ideas, which is so vital to American democratic debate. So this article comes out, Associated Press, but I'm not seeing any editorial pages in California slamming Newsom. We checked the TV coverage. There were mentions on a few stations about Newsom's law being put on hold by a judge. Put on hold? This is stingingly rebuking him. Now, Newsom, again, as I mentioned, has a pattern of behavior here. The Democrat supermajority, might makes right, corrupt, break the law knowingly. They've done this before. For example, they went after crisis pregnancy centers and tried to bully them into favoring positions that they don't believe in by virtue of their faith. The U.S. Supreme Court struck that law down. And then they passed a law basically doing the same thing. And then Rob Bonta said he would prosecute those groups, those churches, those faith-based crisis pregnancy centers for fraud under criminal statutes. Bullies, violating your rights. Of course, we also had Gavin Newsom repeatedly sign anti-gun legislation. And repeatedly, the U.S. Supreme Court has ruled, most recently with the Bruin decision, that your Second Amendment rights are basic. They are fundamental. And your right of self-defense cannot be infringed upon unless government has just cause, which means, they have to prosecute you and find you guilty of a crime, and then they can start modifying your rights, but not law-abiding citizens, which is what Newsom's legislation is designed to do. He got rebuked, not once, but twice. And yet he's back a third time with basically the same damn set of laws that violate the Second Amendment and violate clear Supreme Court, U.S. Supreme Court rulings. Again, the media does not make a case about this. Here's my proposal. I believe that if a legislator's bill is found to be unconstitutional by the U.S. Supreme Court, that legislator shows that they are incompetent and not respectful of our rights, and they should not be able to legislate on that topic going forward. Secondly, if a governor signs a law into effect that is ruled unconstitutional, that governor should not be able to sign legislation for the remainder of his or her term on the same subject. Because if you are so inept that you don't know how to read the Constitution, If you act in a way that is in contrast to law, and that's what we're talking about, when you violate the U.S. Constitution, you're breaking the law, the highest law of the land, our U.S. Constitution, the protected rights that you and I are afforded by our U.S. government, by our U.S. Constitution, by birthright, frankly. So if our politicians aren't going to respect our fundamental rights, they shouldn't be able to legislate or enact laws in the topic that they were smacked down on. Now, I don't think that this is going to pass in the legislature. I'm going to introduce the law in Sacramento, though. But maybe we put it on the ballot and go that route. You'll have the politicians try to push back, obviously. But it would be a glorious statement to make that these people wantonly break the law no matter what the Constitution says. All right, here is the offensive ad that everyone was so upset about. Enjoy.
I, Kamala Harris, and your Democrat candidate for president, because Joe Biden finally exposed his senility at the debate. Thanks, Joe. I was selected because I am the ultimate diversity hire. I'm both a woman and a person of color. So if you criticize anything I say, you're both sexist and racist. I may not know the first thing about running the country, but remember, that's a good thing if you're a deep state puppet. I had 4 years under the tutelage of the ultimate deep state puppet, a wonderful mentor, Joe Biden. Joe taught me rule number 1, carefully hide your total incompetence. I take insignificant things and I discuss them as if they're significant. And I believe that exploring the significance of the insignificant is in itself significant.
Talking about the significance of the passage of time, right? The significance of the passage of time. So when you think about it, there is great significance to the passage of time, and there is such great significance to the passage of time.
Another trick is trying to sound black. I pretend to celebrate Kwanzaa, and in my speeches, I always do my best Barack Obama impression.
So hear me when I say, I know Donald Trump's type.
And okay, look, maybe my work addressing the root causes of the border crisis were catastrophic, but my knowledge of international politics is truly shocking.
The United States shares a very important relationship, which is an alliance with the Republic of North Korea. It is an alliance that is strong and enduring.
And just remember, when voting this November, it is important to see what can be unburdened by what has been. And by what has been, I mean Joe Biden.
Okay. So that's the ad, and it was hilarious. Oh, look, at Reform California, we're fighting to get the truth out to the public, because the liberal media certainly won't, and to hold people like Gavin Newsom and the legislators accountable for breaking your constitutional rights in a bald and blatant way. We need your help. We are not funded by big special interests. We rely exclusively on contributions from people like you, grassroots supporters who want a better state, who want to take back this state from the left, far left insanity. Please chip in a contribution at reformcalifornia.org. Plus, the election is upon us, and politicians are lying to you on the ballot. So check out our plain English voter guide at electionguidecalifornia.org. Share it, use it, share it. electionguidecalifornia.org. Until next time, feel free to mock your politicians under your First Amendment rights and vote using our plain English voter guide. I'm Carl DeMaio, chairman of Reform California. Help us break through the censorship of the liberal media. Like this video, subscribe to this channel, and smash that notification button so you can stay up to date on all the developments in California news and politics. Also, please visit the website, reformcalifornia.org, for ongoing news coverage and to join one of our campaigns in the fight to take back our state. If you can, please sign up as a volunteer or chip in a contribution. This episode of Reform California with Carl DeMaio, paid for by Carl DeMaio for State Assembly 2024.